recording the show. All right. All right. Okay. So, like I was saying, I hope this show is being re-recorded, by the way, too, fam.
Me too.
Okay. Yes, indeed. So let me make sure the chat room. Can y'all see me in the chat room? Because I had to re-record the show. Y'all see me in the chat room? Chat room. Hello. Let me make sure. Make sure we're still on. Okay. All right. Let me double check and make sure we're good. Okay, we're good. So, now what was I saying, Carmine? Okay, so the bootstrap thing, the whole bootstrap thing.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. See, we talk about, well, I'm white and I was poor and I pulled myself up. But again, living in a system of white supremacy, you have people within the system of white supremacy that will look out, and people who have resources that they will allot to other people in the dominant white society that black people have been systematically shut out of. So nobody ever talks about the maldistribution of the resources that were locked into the dominant white society that black people today still don't have access to in large numbers. So pointing out one black person or a couple of black people and saying, hey, look, Michael Jordan made it. My black friend who's a Republican, he made it. How come all of these other blacks don't make it? And the system of white supremacy has like a numbering rule. When more than 6 black people start to penetrate any part of the dominant white society, usually they go on alert. And then they start circling their wagons. So we have to look at all of that and figure out what are we going to do to either correct that or to protect people in black society from that. Instead of just saying, well, those people over there, they should do better because I did better. Because I don't believe white supremacists are that naive, or people in the dominant society are not that naive, including you. You're not naive. You're a very smart dude. And people who I know in the system of white supremacy are very smart people. So I don't buy the naivete thing. You feel me?
Sure. And I'm not, no, I mean, I'm not naive to the fact, and I want to point this out because you pointed it out.
Yes.
To say that, I think we can all admit that black people absolutely started in a hole due to slavery and Jim Crow and being disenfranchised and having businesses burned down and having kids killed and not being able to go to school in the good schools. We can all agree on that. I think that when you start in that hole, it makes it harder. And what I would say to you is this: the pursuit of happiness is guaranteed. Happiness isn't guaranteed. And it definitely is harder. I'm all Italian, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, there's no white rich people or white rich liberals that are inviting me to their parties. You know, it doesn't work that way.
Now, let's talk about that hole. Now, let's talk about that hole. Because when we talk about that hole, and you just admitted, black people were started in a hole. When were black people helped out of that hole? Because I can tell you when the Italians were helped out of their hole, because Italians, they came over and they were disenfranchised at first. When they came over, they went through some things. They circled their wagons, and then white society allowed them in. They allowed them and gave them resources to get out of that hole. Once they became able to classify themselves as white, they were able to get out of that hole because of home loans and other jobs available to people classified as white that were not available to them at first. This is why they created the mafia. That was a way to protect themselves from white supremacists. So I know the history of Italy and the Italians and the whole thing. But they were taken out of that hole. They were able to get out of that hole with the help of the dominant white society. Now, when did black people get help out of the hole?
I think that help exists today. I think there's, but see, again, there's 8 zillion programs, and I think they're all shit. You know, so, I mean, there's all these minority programs, but I think they do more to hold black people down than build them up.
Okay, whoa. Let's go into that. Minority. All right, let's look at minority. See, that's another trick. We got to watch out for that. Why now? I'm letting people know about these keywords. See, when you say, well, there's minority programs and they don't do nothing for blacks, they don't do nothing for blacks because the term minority doesn't equal black. And that's the trick. Minority does not equate to black. People pretend that it does. White women are minorities. Gay white men are minorities.
True.
Hispanic people are minorities. White people who want to claim 2/3 Native American is a minority. So when we talk about minority, we ain't talking about black people. So I'm talking specifically about black people, because minority has been a trick word that they've been using on us to give us the illusion of progress. So specifically, what has been given to black people, any kind of specific programs to get us out of the hole that you admitted that the white supremacists created and basically still keep black people in to a certain degree?
Honestly, I don't think you can create a program to do that. I think what you
yes,
can
you
do.
Can. They did it for
they
did it for white society.
They
They did it for white society during the Great Depression when there was a crime wave.
And it was a mistake. It was a mistake.
It wasn't a mistake. It was good. It got white society out of the hole. It wasn't a mistake. There was a major crime spree in this country when white people committing crimes all over the country during the Depression.
It got people dependent on the system. White, black, indifferent. It got people dependent on the system. It got people to believe the government is here to help you and to pick you up and to carry you. And that's a problem. And that's a problem that still exists today. Because the government was not built for that. If you read the Constitution, the government was not built, even as far as, and this will be controversial, but even as far as you take Hurricane Sandy, Hurricane Katrina, earthquakes, Mount Vesuvius erupting, I don't care what it is. The government's actually not built to come in and rescue you when shit happens.
But the government has rescued white people. Historically, nonstop.
But it was wrong. As what I'm saying is, it was wrong.
It's wrong when black people want that same help. See, that's the problem. When we want the help that you've been getting from the government, then all of a sudden, hey, you know what? This is kind of wrong, and that's the problem. You see, that's white supremacy at work. It's only wrong.
I don't think the government can help you out of it. I don't think the government.
They can.
The best thing the government can do is back the hell off and let people do their thing. The only thing I would suggest, and I said this before, and I'm very big on this, is a school vouchers program. You allow people who are poor, particularly black people, to get into better schools. That's where it starts, man. It starts in education. If you can fix the education, because I went to, again, and this is what I was getting to before, my point, I went to private school from kindergarten to 10th grade. I finished out my last 2 years in public school because I went to an all-male school for my first 2 years of high school, and I couldn't take that, and I had to get into a school that had girls in it. Very stupid, because I should have stayed with the private school, but I finished it out in public school, and I saw a huge, stark difference in public school versus private school. I mean, the shit I was learning in private school in 9th grade, by my senior year in public school, they still weren't caught up to that. And if that's the kind of education that people are getting, then that's a big problem.
Now let's go back.
You can solve that with the voucher program.
So why do you think? Why are black people going to poor schools? Why do you think black people go to bad schools?
I think good teachers are probably afraid. Okay. When you have a level of crime that is so high, I think people are afraid. You can't deny the crime level. See, no matter what the reason is for it, it is there.
Okay, so black people, let's say there's a bunch of black kids who never committed a crime, but because other black people commit crime, they should be judged by whites on the crime that other black people commit?
Wait, say that again. I'm starting to catch the whole thing.
I'm saying that there are black children out here, millions of them, who want to learn. But because there are black people over here who commit crime, all these other black people should be judged by the white supremacists. That's what I call them, because if you're judging these group of black people based on crime over here, that makes you a white supremacist. So should they be judged because other black people commit crime? For example, black people, to this day, whenever we complain about something, people start talking about the crime in Chicago. So are we all responsible for what goes on in Chicago?
We talk about the crime in Chicago not because of black people, and I'll point to that. The reason I talk about the crime in Chicago, we talk about it for very different reasons. I talk about it because I think the slavery black people need to break away from today, and it's very important to me that they do so, is the slavery of the Democratic Party, which if you look at,
Okay,
and I'm sure you know this,
let's bring it back because I don't want to get too caught up in that. I want the specific question answered. Should black people be judged as a whole, as a group, because of the crime? Because of the
of course
crime.
not,
Okay, but so why shouldn't we get good teachers then? Why
because
don't we just?
you can't blame people for being afraid. Fear is a thing. It's not a I hate these people thing. It's a I'm scared thing.
Oh, okay.
I'm not scared. I was born and raised in a very mostly black community, so I'm different. But as far as fear, I don't have that fear. But you take somebody from a lily white neighborhood and you tell them you're going to go teach in Camden, New Jersey, they're not going.
Mm.
They're not going, and you can't blame them.
Right.
You know how hard it is to get out of Camden without getting shot.
Right. Okay. So,
and that's a factual thing.
By your logic, sir, you agree by your logic that every black person should get reparations based on your logic.
Hell no. Absolutely not. Are you crazy?
But white supremacy has disenfranchised us for 400 years. So why shouldn't we get reparations?
Do you know what would happen if reparations took effect? You would have white people rioting in the streets. I mean,
they're already doing it.
Tens of millions.
They're already doing it, sir. They're already killing us. They're already doing it. They're rioting already with the law enforcement, the race soldiers. We're getting shot, killed, hanged. So we're already getting killed. So why shouldn't they, based on your logic? Because white supremacists, they've harmed us for years. So the dominant society, the tax money, there should be money allotted to us to protect us based on the actions of the white supremacists historically and how they've disenfranchised us, based on your own logic.
What I'm telling you is, let's take reparations, because reparations is something I've heard, and you don't even hear about that much anymore. Mm-hmm. Reparations, you have to understand, that's never going to happen. That's never going to happen. It's just never going to happen.
Why not?
Whether it should or not is irrelevant. It will never happen.
Why not?
Because nobody would allow that to happen.
Mm.
Nobody would allow that to happen. It's 2015. I mean, what would reparations even look like? What would it even look like?
That's probably the same what they did with the Japanese. They said the same thing when the Japanese were put in internment camps. The Japanese said, "Hey, you took us and took our families and took our land and took our businesses, took our homes and took us and put us in camps, and we need to be helped out." And white society said, "Well, it ain't gonna never happen," and then it happened. It took a few decades, but in the late 80s, I think every family got $20,000 each, something like that. But they got it in cash. They got it in cash. And hell, there's a lot of stuff that they said that would never happen. And 90% of society during slavery, they didn't want slavery to end in the North or the South. The majority of America, white America, did not want slavery to end at all. The Civil War, right? But it ended. You dig? It ended.
Of course it ended. That Civil War was fought over slavery is a myth.
Right. I don't. Yeah, man. That's definitely a myth. I don't believe that at all. And according to history, that's not why it ended.
It's not true. And to make Abraham Lincoln the hero of the black people is also bullshit.
Oh, I know. Oh, yeah. I totally agree with that.
People are taught this stuff in school, and it's bullshit.
Yeah, he was a white supremacist. But again, there's a lot of stuff that white society doesn't want or didn't want. White society, the majority of white people in the 1960s didn't want black people to vote or have civil rights, so to speak, whatever that is. But, they came up with certain laws. But again, the white supremacists behind the scenes, they worked against those laws. But I wouldn't say that we wouldn't get it, but we should if we want to correct everything. Because the way we're going now, with just black people getting killed and law enforcement and race soldiers targeting black people, we're going into this whole circle of white supremacy. That can't go on forever. You know that, right?
Of course not. Listen, and I'm not again. I think to say white supremacy doesn't exist is not correct. I'm not going to say that.
Okay, we know it does.
I'm not going to say that. Yeah. I'm going to say that it's fed into, though, and I think that it can be overcome. Reparations. Here's the thing: you think if reparations happen tomorrow, everybody would be like, "Okay, we're even, Steven, let's go." I don't think so, man.
They're not doing that now. It doesn't matter. Give me my check and let me do what I do. Because the problem is a lot of black people are being targeted because of our economic deprivation. And that's how white supremacy has really put its stranglehold on black society. Through economic deprivation of resources, keeping
Well, let me
black
ask you this
people
question.
poor.
Let me ask you this question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think if reparations happen tomorrow, you think there'd be an influx of black businesses, or there'd be a run on merchandise?
There are a lot of black people who will spend a lot of money on merchandise. That's fine. Those are the people who they're going to be whatever they want to be. But there are a lot of black people who will do the right thing with their resources. So there's a lot of ways to
Sure.
allot things. You can do it in land allotments. There's a lot of ways to do it. There's a lot of ways to dole out reparations, just like with Native American tribes, the casinos, you don't have to pay taxes. There's a lot of things we can do. But there's...
Yeah, but okay.
Go ahead.
The Native Americans are a great example
Mm-hmm.
because they get a lot of government help and they're still poor.
Well, the thing is, a lot of them are still poor because what happens is that you got a lot of $5 Indians. Are you familiar with that term?
No, I'm not.
In the early 1900s, there was a term called $5 Indian, which meant a fake Indian. When they started to give land allotments to the Native Americans, a lot of the white supremacists would go to what's called the Dawes rolls. That's how you would take a census of the Native Americans. And
Okay.
Native Americans would have to sign the Dawes roll. And what happened was the white supremacists would go in and say, hey, if I give you $5 under the table, put my name down as a Native American. So what happened, a lot of white people started to get listed as Native American. This is why when you see a lot of Native Americans, quote unquote, now, they're damn near lily white. And if you
And they own the casinos.
Right, those are the ones who own the casinos, the lily white ones, the people like Dog the Bounty Hunter who claims to be Native American, Cherokee, and he ain't Cher or nothing. And the real Native Americans are sitting up drunk, poor, like, hey, what the fuck happened? So you have a lot of $5 Indians, fake Native Americans out here who have hustled the game, again, white supremacy. And this is something that we have to worry about what would happen to black society. Because if they start giving out reparations to black people, I'm afraid that we're going to get a bunch of Rachel Dozials, the white women putting braids in their hair, claiming that they're 185th black. So that's my only problem. So, but
well, that's going to go to a whole different story because if you allow people to say they're transgender, you're going to get trans everything.
Absolutely.
And so, I mean, they had that whole show on today with the I Am Kate with the Bruce Jenner thing. I still call him Bruce. He's still a he to me.
Right.
The guy has a mental disorder, and people want to parade it around like it's a legitimate thing. No, you got a mental disorder. You're a man. You're in a dress. You have a mental disorder. You're taking hormones to become a woman. Right. You have a mental disorder.
Yes.
But that be that as it may. No, I think we agree on a lot of things.
Right.
I think we disagree on the solution to fix the problem. See, and again, I get a lot of flack because I'm Italian, I'm a white guy, right? Although the biggest mass lynching in history, and you probably know this, your audience might not, biggest mass lynching in history was a group of Italian people.
In New Orleans, I know. Oh, yeah.
Yep, very well-known fact.
And what happened, and this is interesting, see, and this is the thing that black people don't have. See, when black people got lynched, we just got lynched. It was like, hey, shit happens, because we didn't have any home country to protect us. When they lynched those Italians in New Orleans, Italy almost went to war with the United States. Italy did not play that shit. And they had to apologize and they had to give reparations to the family of those Italians. So there we go. See, everybody gets their reparations but us. And that's the thing. So we got to go back to that reparations thing to make things
I think the reparations should have came after slavery. I mean, now it's 2015.
But sir, slavery is not, sir, that's the problem. You're talking about antebellum slavery. That was one stage. The system of white supremacy itself is slavery. Slavery is still alive and kicking right now, 2015. You have a new plantation, which is the prison industrial complex, where you are forced to work and forced to give you a labor, which is slavery. Getting shot out here in your back and getting targeted economically by the white supremacists, that's slavery. That's a new form of slavery. So slavery never ended.
But you know that you don't have to commit crime. You don't have to go to jail. Those things don't have to happen. Those are choices.
But, sir, the thing is, more things are criminalized when black people do it. Your blackness is the crime. That's like telling our sister Sandra Bland, you shouldn't have not put on your blinker when you made that left turn. It's anything you do as a black person. Anything you do is going to be criminalized. If you sag your pants, that's a crime. If you walk with Skittles at night with a hoodie on, that's a crime if you're black. So your blackness is a crime. So if we are going to be criminalized and targeted, we need to be a protected group in this country, and that's where the reparations come in.
Let me ask you a question, because you talk about that, and I know you talk about Trayvon Martin quite a bit.
Yes, indeed.
Trayvon Martin is a different ballgame. That wasn't a cop that killed him.
Right.
George Zimmerman, I don't think you're going to find too many people that are sane that don't think George Zimmerman belongs in jail.
Mm-hmm.
He's a danger. He'll kill again.
Yes, he will, and which he's going to do. He's already been arrested a number of times. So
he'll kill again.
Yes, indeed. Mm-hmm.
He'll kill again.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a mistake, I think, but...
No, it wasn't a mistake. It was white supremacy. White supremacy is not a mistake. It's a mistake if that wasn't a common thing. What happened with George Zimmerman, he lynched a black person, and there was a system of white supremacists, which the white supremacists always have a system.
George Zimmerman's Hispanic.
Sir, the thing is, when you have a bunch of jurors who are mostly white, cops who are mostly white, prosecutors who are mostly white. The white supremacy came after Zimmerman committed the murder, and people try to use he's Hispanic. Well, Hispanic, that's not a race. That's an ethnicity. There's white Hispanics and there's black Hispanics. So he was a white person classified as white and who was saved by white supremacy. So we got to be very clear on the terms.
Okay, I mean, whatever cleared George Zimmerman. I mean, whatever cleared him, he shouldn't have. I think, like I said, I think we can all agree. The world would be better off if his ass was in jail.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, I'm lighting a cigarette, man.
No problem.
So I don't think anybody's. I don't think you're going to find too many George Zimmerman defenders.
Oh, there's a lot because
Mike Brown.
Go ahead.
Mike Brown is another case. Eric Garner is another case. Freddie Gray is another case. A lot of people who were out there protesting for Freddie Gray. And you know this, Tariq. You're a smart man. Mm-hmm. You know a lot of people that were out there protesting Freddie Gray. We want justice for Freddie Gray. If he didn't get killed by the cops, those people would have killed him if he spilled a drink on him in a club. A lot of those people would have killed him for stepping on their Jordans in a club or whatever. And you know that.
So I mean, it's not really. I mean, damn, that's kind of speculative. You're just saying, okay, well, he was going to get killed anyway because he lived in the hood. I mean,
I'm saying he was going to get killed anyway. I am saying he was going to get killed anyway because he was a career drug dealer, and being a drug dealer is a very dangerous occupation.
Yes, it is, and the white supremacists are the biggest ones. The white supremacists are the major drug dealers.
Those are legal drugs.
No, they're not. Because how did Freddie Gray get the crack? How did any of us get the crack? White supremacists allow the crack in the neighborhood, especially the Italian ones, by the way. Go look at the movie The Godfather. They talk about, we want to go there. Now, you're Italian. You're an Italian guy trying to tell me about some crime? Okay. Really?
Listen, let me tell you something.
An Italian trying to tell me about crime. All right, go ahead. Tell me.
This is a true story. That's a true story. When you watch the movie Goodfellas and the kids parking the cars and shit, I did that when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah.
Because there was an Italian section in Newark, and I always hung out at the Italian club, and so I know all about that shit.
Yeah. Your people brought the crack up in here. They brought the heroin in the black neighborhoods early on.
Actually, the CIA actually was, if you want to get technical.
Yeah, but before the CIA, it was them. Before the CIA was formed, it was the Italian mafia that brought in the heroin in Harlem. They were the ones who sold it to the Bumpy Johnsons and all of these people. It was your folks who did it first. And they made it all right. They made it all right. So give me some drug money so I can flip and go legit just like you and your family.
That's actually true. A lot of people, you look at the Kennedys, they were bootleggers.
Oh yeah,
a lot of people use crime to make their wealth. That is actually very true.
What's the mayor of New York? What's that former mayor of New York? What's his name? His family, I think, has some mafia ties. What's that guy's name?
Giuliani. You're not going to find a lot of Italians who have some mafia ties.
Oh yeah. Giuliani. He's running around. He's the top cop and all that old shit. His family had mafia ties, from what I understand. So crime is cool.
Family, dude, but you can't judge them by their family. You can't judge a man by family.
But yeah, I mean, y'all judge us by our families and associations. You know?
I don't judge anybody.
Well, yeah, you just said, a white teacher would be scared to go to a black school because of how the other blacks act and all that. So
I'm telling you a fact.
But that's a speculation based on conjecture, and you're lumping everybody into one group. So we're going to lump people into one group. Let's lump all the white supremacists in one group and let them write a check, since they've all, as one group, since we're lumping people in, they've disenfranchised us for centuries and centuries.
Now look, let me stop you right here. You see this?
Yes.
Now, this person in the chat room, I'm looking at the chat room, just called me a womp in the chat room. Okay, now if I
don't do
the same racial slur, they would have jumped on me like crazy, right? but they drop a slur on me, and that's cool.
Now, that could be a white supremacist acting black. Now, let's be clear. Because you got a lot of that. You got a lot of white supremacists who troll and they act like black people on the internet. You have a lot of that. So
I'm trying to catch a chatter a little bit. I'm not very popular.
Right.
But I didn't think I would.
So solution. So we got to talk. So you talk about black crime. And my thing is, if we're going to talk about black crime, we always have to talk about the problem of black crime and what created the black crime. That's how we can get to the solutions, because I hear people talk about what family values, which is a very popular conservative talking point, and it has nothing to do with family values. Black crime has been created by the white supremacists. Do you agree or disagree with that?
I disagree.
Now, why do you disagree with that?
Because nobody can make you commit crime. Nobody can make you.
But they can create. They can create the environment that will fester crime.
You can create an environment that is a rough environment. But again, I grew up in the ghetto. I knew many black families that were not criminals and didn't have criminals in their families.
Right. And that's the thing. A lot of us, most of us are not.
It's a choice. It's still a choice.
Most of us are not criminals. But the thing is, when you have a system that deliberately deprives people, everybody will not have the wherewithal to kind of fight and maneuver away from that, because the system shouldn't exist at all. There should not be a system that deprives people of resources. It shouldn't exist. So sure, some people are going to get caught up in that system negatively. So that
but your solution for that is reparation. That's your solution.
That's one. That's one. From the dominant society. That's what I say. My solution.
Reparations will never happen, bro.
But until it does, if it doesn't happen, my thing with black people, I always talk about creating an economic base. We got to create an economic base and learn how to circulate our money among each other. But whenever I see people in the dominant white society talking about, well, black problems this, I'm like, well, damn right, check. Y'all should be breaking bread and giving reparations if you're so concerned. But I wouldn't say reparations wouldn't happen. I think it will happen. Eventually. I think it'll happen.
You really think it'll happen?
I know there's a lot of white supremacists out here kicking, screaming, mad or whatever, but there's already a war against black people. People talk about an upcoming war. There's a race war now. There's all these black people getting murdered and slaughtered and funneled into the prison system. That's warfare. And most warfare is economic.
Carmine doesn't want reparations to happen. You're correct. I don't want reparations to happen.
But why? Why wouldn't you want reparations to happen to people that has been systematically harmed? Why wouldn't you want justice? Because that's what justice is.
I don't think that's justice.
What do you think? I think
you're punishing one group of people for another.
No, we're punishing a government basically, because the government disenfranchised black people, not just a group. The entire government, the entire system was built on the backs of the free African labor. If it wasn't for the free African labor, there would be none of this stuff. And that's the thing. Everybody benefits from the free African labor except the African people.
Well, I mean, there's free white labor in Africa now. There's white slaves in Africa today. You don't hear nobody making a fuss about that, right?
Where are they in Africa? What white slaves?
There are white slaves today.
And where in Africa?
Man, I shouldn't have said that because I don't have the facts to back me up. Okay. I was reading about it not too long ago.
There you go. So let's talk about home. We're talking about home, right? We'll get into international business when we get home business together. So when we get home business together, we get the shit straight here. I'll be the first one to stop those people from being slaved in Never Never Land or wherever the hell they are. But let's get home.
Freddie Gray was not a victim. Freddie Gray was not a victim of a color war. No, he was not. That's bullshit. First of all,
no, don't worry about the chat room. No. Sorry.
Okay.
Because people.
I hear people talk about a race war, though, like a race war would not work out good for black people.
There's already
it's a bad idea. When you're outnumbered by those kind of numbers, that's a bad idea.
Let's get back to the reparations. I get on the race war thing in a minute. I don't want to get too sidetracked. But you're saying it's like punishing one group or another. No, sir. Again, the black people could not get out of slavery because of the federal government. Black people could not get out of Jim Crow because of the federal government. Black people right now in 2015 are being attacked, and we don't have any protection at all because of the federal government. See, in the 1960s, the federal government stepped in temporarily to force integration to a certain degree and basically protect certain black children from getting harmed when they went to school. When you go and look at some of the old footage in the 60s of federal troops walking black kids to school,
Yep.
that was a temporary thing. But the white supremacists work behind the scenes to create new types of segregation without calling it segregation. But we don't have no federal protection now. And that's the problem. And that's because of the federal government, a government that we have supported with our blood, sweat, and tears historically. So we should be compensated for that. That would be justice. What would be justice in your eyes?
Justice in my eyes
Yes.
would, first, like I said, it starts at school vouchers. It starts at education.
School
it starts at getting
vouchers.
black students better educations. You know,
school vouchers and
So
go
that-
where? But well, let's go back to the school vouchers thing. Okay, let's say we go to school, we get vouchers. Okay, what are we going to do with that education? Where are the jobs? What are we going to do? Where are we going to work? Where are we going to go with that education from the school vouchers that we get?
when you have education, you have a world of opportunity available to you. I didn't get out of the ghetto because, you know, I'm a nice guy. I got out of the ghetto because I'm educated.
Right.
Because I was able to parlay that education into money.
And you're white.
You understand what I'm saying?
And you're white. That helped.
I don't think it helped. I don't know. I didn't get one handout.
You don't need a handout. You're white. You got a whole system that gives you privileges and benefits off rip.
Bro, what privileges did I get? I got no privileges. I got no benefits.
Yes, you did.
I got nothing.
It's not hard for white people to find jobs. It's not hard for you to find work. It's not hard for you to go to another place, start over. It's not hard for you to find a relative that's doing something. It's not hard for you to get access to resources. It's not hard for a white person. Even the poorest white person have access to certain things that we don't have access to. You know, I want you to, you know.
The truth is,
go ahead.
The truth is, I made most of my money not being nice. I made most of my money being an asshole.
Hey,
that's how I make most of my money.
Yeah. There's nice white assholes and there's mean black white assholes or whatever. But being an asshole is neither here nor there. You had you had opportunities, and you have other people in the dominant society that will look out for you because they have resources. You have more people in your community with resources to give to you.
It just seems to me, and I don't have an answer for it, that black people were doing better in the 60s and 70s than they're doing today. It's that they've gone backwards, and I don't know why.
Oh, I know why.
I don't know how.
I know why, and I know how. Systematic white supremacy has nothing to do with the Democrats or the Republicans. It's systematic white supremacy. And it was a very...
I disagree. I think it does have to do with Democrats and Republicans.
It has nothing to do with that. The Democrats were just as racist as the Republicans. But have you heard the... what's his name? The LBJ. He's a Democrat. He was in the 60s. He's calling black people all types of niggas. I mean, he was just as racist as everybody else. They're all white supremacists. You got presidents who own slaves, Republicans, Democrats. You have white presidents, Republicans who would spew the N-word around. So all of them birds of the same feather. I would
argue to you that it is more of an elite class versus a poor class than it is a color thing.
But all the elites are white. All of the elites are the white supremacists, though.
Yeah, but what do you think the elites think of poor white people? It's people in the trailer park in Oklahoma.
But they're white. They're still white. They're still white supremacists. All the elites are white supremacists. And when people start talking about the Bilderberger Group and the Illuminati, all the Illuminatis are white. So basically, you're talking about different branches of the same building. See,
I've said that a million times. It's like Jay-Z and Beyonce think they're in the Illuminati. No, they're Illuminati puppets.
Yeah, oh yeah, they don't sit at the Illuminati table. The Illuminati table is about the bloodline. It's all about your bloodline.
Absolutely, it's all about the bloodline.
All about bloodline.
But before we get into that, that's a different whole conspiracy show, and I would love to do that with you some other time.
Yes, indeed.
I do want to get back on the Sandra Bland thing, though. I think it's such a stretch. It's such a stretch of conspiracy to say she was dead when that picture was taken. And I think you get people angry because they start believing It's a factual thing.
And that's why I don't buy too much into
speculation.
that. And that's why I don't buy too much into that. And I was saying that earlier. I was telling people, when you see too many conspiracies come through, let's not run chasing our tail after every conspiracy, because I saw a picture where it was clearly photoshopped, made it look like her eyes were rolled. So again, I tell black people, hey, let's not, because a lot of white supremacists will put that information out and misinformation. And
I think she got beat up. She looked beat up.
Yeah, I think she got killed because I know white supremacy, and you got some law enforcement. Two of the officers, well, the chief of police there is a known white supremacist. He's been reprimanded for his white supremacist views. The prosecutor has had racist views, and then you had this cop wrongfully stopping this young lady, and they put her in this jail cell. This woman had a traffic violation. There's no reason to kill yourself.
Absolutely.
Then they're trying to blame marijuana, and I've never heard of a marijuana-induced suicide.
I think marijuana is going to kill yourself.
Right. So, yeah.
And I'm not a marijuana smoker. Actually, I hate it.
Yeah.
But I also think it should be legal. Even though I don't do it, I think it should be legal. Just real quick, because this is not even a point, but you'd have a lot less people in jail if marijuana were legal. And you can't make a case for making it illegal when cigarettes and alcohol are legal.
Now, but I want to get back on a point here. Now, what do you think now, because you know that black people in this country are negatively targeted by people who practice white supremacy within law enforcement. As a matter of fact, the FBI had a memo in 2006 saying that a lot of the white extremists are going to start infiltrating law enforcement agencies, so you have to be careful. Now we have a lot of law enforcement. You see them sending racist emails to each other all over the country. And now you have black people being targeted and killed disproportionately by law enforcement or race soldiers within law enforcement. Now, what would you suggest happen in this country to protect black people from a potential race soldier working as a law enforcement officer? What type of protection should black people specifically, because we are specifically targeted the most, what protection should we have?
If there was a cop who was, as you say, a race soldier, which I think that term cannot apply to who Assata Shakur killed. I think she's a stone cold murderer and she belongs in jail. But
wait. Let me let you give your answer, then I'm going to get on that. Don't let me forget to get on Assata, all right? But go ahead.
Okay. If a cop is a killer,
yes,
if he's a white supremacist and he is intent on killing black people, and I think if that exists, you're talking about 0.0001%.
Why do you think it's such a low percentage?
Because I think cops are. I really believe cops have every intention to help people. I think they get into that profession to help people. I think because they care about that. I know a lot of cops. You know, they're not hateful individuals. They're good people. So I think, like I said, I think you know, if you, first of all, what the protection could be, there can't be any protection. There can't be any protection if somebody's a rogue cop and they're going to do what they do.
But there's a system.
There can't be any protection until after the fact, unfortunately.
But the thing is, it's not just the cops. You see, it's not just the cops. It's the people who protect the cops. See, because now, when you have so-called rogue cops out here harming black people, you have prosecutors who will protect them. You have grand juries that will protect them. And to deny this is just intellectually dishonest. So what type of protection should black people have? Because this happens, it shouldn't happen to one black person, but it happens to black people over and over, decade after decade. Because when you look at history, this has always been happening. Black people getting lynched, and then the whole town goes around and protects the lynch mob who did it, and justice is not served. So should we let that system go on and just kind of deny it? Or should we just come up with a system that will protect black people from that, potentially? Because it shouldn't happen in one case, but it happens over and over.
What do you think the system, what change would you make to the system to make that happen?
I'm asking you. What do you think should be put in place as a protection mechanism?
I don't think that system exists.
I know it doesn't exist. Well, I know the system. Wait, you're saying that a system that allows people to kill black people don't exist?
Yeah, I am. I'm saying that, yes. I'm saying that there's not a system that allows cops to go around willy-nilly killing black people.
Yeah, why is Eric Garner's killer walking around? And why is Mike Brown's killer walking around? Why is Sandra Bland's killer or potential killer walking around? Why is the Rakia Boyd in Chicago, her killer is walking around. There's cops all over killing black people walking around right now.
Sure. So here's what I would say. Here's the protection I would put in these things you bring up. I would start teaching black children and all children, you can have a day in court. Stop resisting arrest. Eric Garner was killed because he resisted arrest. Mike Brown was killed because he reached for a cop's gun. You know, these things didn't come about because they were just stopped in the street and murdered.
So black people should have death sentences because they resisted arrest?
No, what I'm saying is if you resist arrest, you put yourself in a position where that could happen. It happens to white people all the time.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Unarmed white people don't get killed on a regular basis for resist. Even when they do, hell, if they shoot, or when white people point guns at white cops, they don't get killed. The Clive and Bundy ranch.
Time and time again, white people getting unarmed getting killed.
The Clive and Bundy ranch people literally pointed their guns at the law enforcement, at government agents, and they didn't get killed. Why was that?
Actually, that's an interesting thing because I said at the time, if that was a group of black people pointing guns, they'd all been dead.
So you're admitting that was white supremacy?
In that particular state with those particular agents, I think if it was local cops, you're talking about federal agents. I think they don't want to have a Branch Davidian system again.
You just said if that were black people, they would have been killed. You just admitted that. So that is white supremacy, right?
Yeah, no, I didn't say, and again, I didn't say there's not some white supremacy that exists. I said before that it does.
So no white supremacy should exist. That system should not exist.
Correct.
So one situation shouldn't exist like that. So what should happen with black people, or what should they do to protect black people from that happening to any other black person?
You know what? I don't have an answer for that.
Okay. And that's
I don't have an answer for that.
So your thing, I think your energy should be used into looking for answers to give justice instead of just blaming the victims of white supremacy, saying that, well, Tamir Rice shouldn't have resisted arrest and Eric Garner shouldn't have resisted arrest. That's just blaming the victims of white supremacy. He shouldn't have been choked to death. It's not about resisting arrest. You don't choke a person to death because they don't want to be arrested, and a person who didn't do anything. That doesn't happen to white people. You can't show me, sir. You can't show me an unarmed white person being choked to death for nothing.
But again, I'd have to look it up. I didn't look up.
And the fact that you have to look it up, that speaks volumes, sir. And that's the problem.
The fact that I have to look it up speaks volumes to what the media portrays, what the media puts out there, what makes the money.
So the thing is, the media is not like they're protecting us. The media, you just said earlier that they demonize us because of the liberals. So now you're saying that the media is giving us some type of leeway. So which one?
No, not leeway at all. Not leeway at all. What I'm telling you is that the racial divide makes money. When you promote black versus white, that's money. It makes money. CNN might as well have gone into Baltimore and started those riots.
And the media, they protect and maintain white supremacy as far as I'm concerned, because what they do, when a black person is killed, they blame the victim, and they create an environment where jurors will look out for the white perpetrator. What
media outlet blames the black people?
Oh, they do.
It ain't CNN. It ain't MSNBC. It ain't CBS.
You just said they're not blaming black people?
Yeah. You're telling me people on CNN blamed Eric Garner?
Sir, they put up Eric Garner's jail record like that had anything to do with him getting choked. With our sister Sandra Bland, CNN and all of these news outlets are talking about weed, and she got arrested for traffic stops before. They're going all into that woman's background. Every time a black person is harmed, they go into Walter Scott, for example. When Walter Scott got shot in the back, CNN, MSNBC, Fox, they start talking about the man's child support payments. What does that have to do with anything? You've never seen a white victim of a crime or murder have their child support or traffic business put on Fox News or CSNBC or none of that stuff. They only do that to us.
No, I disagree. I totally disagree. How quick did the criminal record of the Chattanooga killer get put out there? How quick the guy in Louisiana?
He was a killer.
How quick did his criminal record manifesto get the Gillen Roof? Same thing.
He was a killer. Sorry, he pulled a gun and killed people. I'm talking about the victims of a crime, a victim of a murder. When have you ever seen a victim, a white victim, and I want you to give me any case ever of a white victim of a crime, an unarmed white person who was killed for any reason? When have you ever seen their traffic record or them criminalizing the victim?
They don't even promote the case. That's what I'm telling you. It doesn't make money.
Well, they promote Natalie Holloway. Yes, they do. And Natalie Holloway, when she was found missing and all that stuff, when they didn't go into her criminal background or if she had a traffic warrant or she smoked weed. They don't do that.
She wasn't killed by a cop. She wasn't killed by a cop. When you're going into somebody's criminal background, you're creating a case to say, well, this is why he had negative interactions with the police. And
they didn't, and no, because when you talked about this earlier with Trayvon Martin and George Zimmerman, Trayvon Martin, that kid wasn't a criminal at all, but they kept showing pictures of him talking about he was throwing up gang signs, and Trayvon Martin was really a nerd if you look at what the family was talking about and his friends, and Zimmerman, he wasn't a cop, so they criminalized that young man, and that's why the white supremacists let Zimmerman off. So there's two standards based on white supremacy that shows the way the media portrays different victims. And white victims of any crime, they're never criminalized. They never show them in a negative light. They never bring up some type of past traffic history. They never do that with a white victim. If they do, please let me know.
Again, I don't think there's any money in it. There's not money in it, man. There's a narrative they're trying to push. And
so there's money into criminalizing black people. I agree with that 100%. There's money in criminalizing black people. There's
money in creating a certain narrative.
Because that's white supremacy. You know. But let me get on that whole Assata Shakur thing. You got on Assata. You said you think Assata is a stone cold killer.
Yeah, I love that. She seems to be pretty popular in your chat room.
Oh, yeah. I don't think Assata is a stone cold killer. Assata was protecting herself. Assata was being terrorized by a race soldier, and she protected herself. And she had to do what she had to do to stay alive.
She was robbing a bank.
Well, that I don't know. I don't think she was robbing a bank. I don't think that. That's what they were saying she was doing. How true is that?
Oh, come on, man. Come on. You're stretching. You're reaching. You think they just found her and decided, let's get her?
Yes, because they had something called the COINTELPRO program where they were targeting people in the Black Panther Party and so-called black radicals. And this is very well documented. J. Edgar Hoover was the spearhead of that. Look up COINTELPRO. They were targeting black nationalists. They were sending police to them. They were assassinating them. They assassinated a black man named Fred Hampton. They were targeting these people, and they were sending race soldiers after them, and that's what they did with Assata. And Assata was clear to that, by the way. Her charge was shooting the cop. That was her charge. The bank robbery, I think she was clear to that. So
she wasn't clear to it. It was a moot point. It was a moot point because the charge was killing the cop. And that's a lot different than being cleared.
Okay. But the thing is, it was a race soldier that was after her, and she didn't.
No, I disagree. It was a cop doing his job, man.
Well, that's what the Nazis soldiers
to go home to his family that she killed.
And that's what the Nazis said too. The Nazis to this day, those soldiers, when they find those old Nazi soldiers, they say the same thing. I was just doing my job. I was just doing what Hitler told me. I was trying to go back to my family. And the people in court now, they don't play that shit. They send those old Nazi soldiers right to prison because that whole I'm just doing my job thing, if your job is to target black people, then you're a race soldier and that's not justice.
So, you think that this cop was out to target black people and kill them?
I think he probably was because of the COINTELPRO program. And now, even to this day, you have cops out here who are race soldiers who specifically target black people to harm because they know that they can get away with it. This is why I pointed out earlier that they have cops out here around the country sending racist emails back and forth with each other, and they're acting on this because these are really race soldiers. So I don't look at them as cops, because being a cop is not a bad thing, but targeting people based on race, that's something that has nothing to do with justice. And our sister Asada was protecting herself from a potential race soldier.
I disagree. I completely disagree, and we're never going to agree on that.
Yeah, we're not. Yeah, but again, I don't jump on that whole Asada's a cop killer thing, because when you target people based on race, you're not a cop. And I always use
killed a cop. There's no proof he targeted her based on race. There's no proof that you talk about proof.
Yeah,
but there's no proof he targeted her based on race. There's no proof that they were out to do a hit on her.
But there is proof. Yes, there is proof. There's proof that law enforcement...
if they wanted to do a hit on her, they were working with the mafia.
There is proof,
If
sir.
they hired the mafia to do a hit on her, she would have never heard it coming, and she'd have been dead.
You said there's no proof, but there is proof. There's the COINTELPRO document, sir. The COINTELPRO document is unequivocal proof that they were targeting Black Panther members, and they were trying to assassinate them. And this is a document that's... you can look up right now.
I know what you're talking about, but I never saw
that's proof.
Name in there.
So that's proof that Black Panthers and Black nationalists at the time were being targeted. That's the proof right there. So they don't know which cop has that memo or who's been told to go and kill. So they didn't know. So they have to assume that all cops after them were potential race soldiers. Just like being in Nazi Germany. You're Nazi Germany. I guess there were nice Nazi soldiers, but there were some who were going to do their job in Nazi Germany. So you had to look at all of the Nazi soldiers the same way as race soldiers. So
I think you're making a hell of a stretch comparing cops to Nazis.
Whoa. Whoa. What's the difference between Nazi soldiers and police officers today in their relationship with black people? Well, hell, not even just police officers. The whole system of white supremacy right now. What's the difference between Nazi Germany and right now in America with black people and law enforcement and the system of white supremacy? What's the difference?
It's huge. You're talking about 6 million Jews killed just for being Jews. Most of the black people that get killed by cops are committing a crime, or they're armed.
Well, they're criminalized
because,
no, they're not. They're criminalized because they're black, and you're funneled into a prison system based on race. Most people are in jail because of nonviolent drug offenses. Most black people are in jail right now, 2015, for nonviolent drug offenses. But the kicker is the number one illicit drug in the country is crystal meth, a drug that black people don't use or sell. So it's a race thing. We're funneled into the prison system based on race, and it's the same thing as Nazi Germany. You punish people, you hurt them, you harm them, you kill them, and you have a media propaganda campaign like they had in Germany against the marginalized group. So it's the same thing. They use the same dogs. They had German shepherds in Germany, and now they have German shepherds on black people here. So there's no difference. It's the same thing.
They're not just going after black people, though, man. Listen, I would say my advice would be, and I have to get going because I got work early.
Yes, indeed.
But I would love to do this again. I really would. I had a good time.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
But I would say to you that the trick is to not give people reasons. It's like Frederick Wilson, who was on my show last week, said, if cops keep pulling you over and they keep finding nothing, they're going to stop pulling you over.
Well, sir, I can't stop being, sir. We can't just stop being black. That's what they're basically saying. If you can
you could stop committing crimes. You could stop selling drugs. You could stop carrying weapons.
Eric Garner didn't have a weapon. Sandra Bland didn't have a weapon.
So Eric Garner didn't have a weapon, but Eric Garner did resist. He did resist.
And sir, if we're going to be killed on that, then you're being killed because you're black. So now you're saying just stop being black. That's all.
I think Eric Garner got killed. I think Eric Garner got killed because he was big.
I saw. No, stop that with that whole thing. The coroner there ruled it a homicide, sir. The coroner.
No. Wait. Homicide just means somebody else caused the death. It does not mean a criminal action.
If somebody caused the death, that's a crime.
No, it's not.
That, sir.
If somebody points a gun at you and you shoot them,
sir,
that's a homicide, but that's not a crime.
Sir, and that's again white supremacy. White supremacy is based on I say so. White supremacy is based on the I say so rule. The Egyptians were white because I say so. Forget about the proof. Forget about what you see. I'm white and I say so. Eric Garner, you saw him get killed, but I say he died because he was fat. That's what white supremacy is. It's based on the I say so rule. And that's what you're doing now. It's like, forget about what you saw. Forget about you seeing this man getting choked. Forget about the homicide, the coroner saying it was ruled a homicide. I say I'm changing the definition of what a homicide is because I'm a white supremacist and you can't stop
you're
me.
Wrong.
That's not wrong, sir. You're just changing the definition of a homicide.
Is a medical definition. We're talking about the medical definition. A coroner cannot determine guilt or innocence, homicide or suicide. A coroner can determine the manner of death. Now, if you break into somebody's house or I break into somebody's house and they shoot you, okay, and you die and you were pointing a gun at them, the coroner will call that a homicide. That's not a criminal charge. That's not a criminal conviction. You were defending yourself. Legally, homicide does not equal murder legally.
Sir, if Eric Garner was not choked by Eric Pantaleo, he would be alive to this day. Why did the city of New York have to pay the family out? The city of New York had to pay the family $5 million, sir. They knew they would.
Well, for a number of reasons. Number one, Bill de Blasio's pandering. And number two, it would have cost them more to fight it. It would have cost them more to fight it.
It was ruled a homicide, and they had to pay the family out, and y'all still talking about what murder. Well, it's not a homicide. It's not a crime. It's not, okay, now you want to redefine. See, can you name a black person who's choked anybody to death that didn't get prosecuted? Because
no, I can't off the top of my head. I'm sure it's happened. I can't name off the top of my head. But I would say this, if it was a black cop, probably the same thing. But what I'm saying to you is this. First of all, when you go to Eric Garner's case, I thought that should have went to trial. It didn't go to trial. It should have went to trial.
Because of white supremacy. The white supremacist police unions, the white supremacist grand juries, all these people work together as a group of white supremacists because white supremacy is systematic. Sir, we sat up and saw the man get choked to death by Pantaleo. I'm not going to let nobody tell me something my eyes didn't see. So...
No, I don't think anybody's denying that happened.
Yes,
and again, I think it should have went to trial. I was very surprised that didn't go to trial.
Yeah, I wasn't. Because we live in a system of white supremacy. I'm not surprised because that's what white supremacy does. The black people have always been killed by white people and white supremacists, and they didn't go to trial. That happens over and over and over and over again in this country. There's a whole book called 100 Years of Lynching that talks about all the black people that's been killed. Not only have they been killed, they have postcards of black people being killed, and none of the people go to jail. That's systematic white supremacy at work.
They have postcards of black people getting killed?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Go to a website called Beyond Sanctuary. There's a website called Beyond Sanctuary. Check that out. They used to, when they would lynch black people in this country, they wouldn't just lynch black people. They would make events out of it, and they would take pictures of it and mail them off as postcards. And many of these postcards are on the website called Beyond Sanctuary. These postcards were being made from the late 1800s to the early 1960s. They would send these postcards all around the country in the mail of dead black people. So the system of white supremacy is pretty consistent. So instead of sending postcards, they just send the media images out of black people being unjustly killed and the white perpetrators being unjustly let go. So white supremacy is just being white supremacy.
You know how I feel about this, man. I think that more is made of it than there is. I think that there is a solution, but I think it starts with not buying into the white supremacist belief system that there is a white supremacy. That I don't think white people are superior. But
socially, white people are superior, and that's the thing. Socially, white people are in a superior position over black people. And superior, according to my brother Neely Fuller, who wrote a great book called The Independent Code Concept, superior just means I can do whatever I want to do to you and you can't stop me. That's all it means. And that's what white people can do in America. You can do whatever you want to black people, and there's a system that will pretty much protect you, and we can't do anything about it. That's why we're marching around in circles right now with hands up, don't shoot, and we're just chanting because we don't know what to do. We don't know how to stop the military-backed system of white supremacy, because that's what it all boils down to. The system is backed by a military force. That's why y'all roll those tanks out on us when we get out of line. So that's the problem. We're trying to figure out how to get around that part of the game. So, you know.
But before I go, I should ask this question. So you think if I went out tomorrow and just walked down the street and just blew a black guy's brains out, I wouldn't go to jail for the rest of my life?
All you have to do is, number one, not be filmed doing it. And number two, come up with a good enough lie and you'll be fine. To this day, white supremacists do crimes against black people and then make up lies. The black person don't even have to exist, by the way. Y'all remember Susan Smith, the white lady who killed her kids and said a black guy did it? They were going around looking for these mythological black guys. Up in Boston, a guy killed his wife, Stewart. He said some black guys did it. They started rounding black people up in Boston. So the black people don't even have to exist, and we will start getting rounded up. All it takes is the white supremacist to come along with a good enough lie, and there's a system that will back you up. The knockout game was a complete lie. And people demonized black people because of the knockout game. Yes, I said
so those videos were fake, but the Eric Garner tape is real.
Those videos were not part of a game. Those were random assault videos from all over the world that had nothing to do with each other. The media got those images together and said, there's this game that all black people are somehow complicit in. And then they started putting out these knockout game stories, in which they were totally false. There was no knockout game that black people were playing around the country at all.
Well, again, I don't know anything about the knockout game other than what I saw on TV. I don't know anybody that was participating in the knockout game other than what I saw on TV. Right. And when I look at TV, I believe maybe 10% of what I see.
Right. Well, that was a lie, by the way. That was a lie. The media always, that
wouldn't surprise me. It really wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, the media always does that. They always have the black menace lie that they come out with every 10 years. They've been doing that since the 1800s. They would have the blue gum Negro lie that they put out stories back in the early 1900s saying that black people with blue gums are going around biting white people. Then they had the giant Negro story. They had stories about giant Negroes going around beating up white people. Then they had the raping Negroes. That's why so many black people would get lynched. The media would put out these lies about black people going to rape white women. So if a black man went out and looked at somebody, they would say, oh, he's trying to rape a white woman, then they would lynch him. So the same thing. White supremacy is real consistent with their lies and deceit and their injustices. So it is what.
Well, let me say this. Let me say this before I go. There's a lot of the stuff you said. A lot of the stuff you said in the past 10 minutes that I really, honest to God, I didn't know.
Yeah.
And so I would love to spend some time talking to you about some of this stuff when we get a chance. I'd love to come back on. I think as much as your chat room hated me, I still love you and I still feel the love. And
go check out my movies, man. If you guys
love to hate me, that's cool.
Check out my movies, man. Go get my documentary movies. Hidden Colors, Hidden Colors 1, 2, and 3. Get those movies and study that, and then
sure. Where are they?
HiddenColorsFilm.com. HiddenColorsFilm.com. It's three volumes. Yeah.
I'm definitely interested, man. I mean, listen. We all got to work together on this, and at least that's how I feel. I know a lot of people don't feel that way.
Yeah.
But we're still one country. We're still one America. And I think sometimes a lot of times we get shit on for when we suggest that too. Mm-hmm. Like, we all got to work together. And people are like, no, we don't. And yeah, we do. Because nobody's going to get anywhere with everybody being against each other.
Right.
I just bookmarked the page, so I definitely will look into this.
There you go.
I'm going to watch them. I'm going to watch them, man.
And I have you on the show again. I have you on the show again. And when I have the so-called black Republican dudes that you had with you, I want to have them on too. I got some heat for them too. So, cool. I think
our point is that we definitely don't believe it exists. We believe it's the white liberals that are the problem. But and we'll get into that more. But definitely, let me definitely watch the movies first. I'd like to watch them and then call in.
Yeah.
So let me watch them.
Cool. All right, I'll let you know when to call in again, man. I'll let you know. All right?
Absolutely, bro.
All
Listen,
right, man.
whenever's good, man. You gave me like over an hour's time today.
Yes, indeed.
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. And I had fun, man. God bless you, man.
No doubt, man. Thanks for calling in, Carmine. All right.
Thank you, sir. Take care.
Cool. All right. There it was right there. Me and Carmine. See, that's how you have a debate. Just keep it real respectful. You know, just keep it real respectful. Just know what you're talking about. Yeah, just bring it on back. Bring it on back. You got to bring it back to the truth. Okay, last snowman, I got you out of here, snowman trolling. That's probably Ennis's toothless ass. That's probably Ennis, no tooth having ass nigga. Oh, Muppet mouth fucker. Yes, indeed. See, that's how you do it. Very good debate. Very respectful. You dig? Y'all got to know how to hit those bullet points and bring it on back. You dig? That's how you got to do it. Yes, indeed. Yeah, this is a heavy show tonight, man. This was a damn good show tonight, wasn't it, fam? How many people in the chat room? I can't even see the chat room. How many people in here right now? And I do. And Aki, that's true. I give him his respect because my man, he didn't tap out. He didn't start trolling like some of those other ones. Because when I give a lot of these dudes that work, well, fuck you, man. Fuck you. You know, then they start getting violent. You dig? But at least he was like, okay, well, shit, I don't know. All right, okay, I can respect that. I can respect somebody saying they don't know. I respect that. You dig? So we in here heavy. I wouldn't let him change the subject. I kept bringing him back. I wasn't about to get into that liberal Democrat bullshit. Don't ever get into that, fam. That's teaching. This was a class. My man Catalytic said it perfectly. This was class. This was a classroom. I did it like John Henry Clark. I debate my equals. All others I teach. This was a teaching lesson. And that's good. He was very respectful. I give him that. I respect that. He was respectful to me, so I showed the respect back. So this was a teaching session. So I didn't know that. I didn't know this. So he's going to turn into Tim Wise. Uh-oh. So he's going to get him some Rachel Dolezal braids. Oh, yeah, that reparations talk got in his ass. But then when I broke it down, he had to see where I was coming from. I had to make it make sense, see? Last snowman, man, if you don't take your ass somewhere and stop trolling, you can drink your little chocolate milk for the night and go to bed so you can go to summer school in the morning, nigga. Yes, indeed. Yeah, family, if you ever debate people in the dominant society, or if you're schooling them, don't let them get off into that whole Democrat, Republican. That's just a circle to waste time. I'm not here to waste time. See, I want y'all to listen back to this and study how the shit went down. I want you to study it and see how it goes down. Man. Say, why are they so against giving us money? Because, see, the name of the game is to keep us broke. Keep black folks disenfranchised. So, crewman, so Asada was cleared of that bank robbery, right? I wasn't wrong. I thought I was right on that. I'm going to look, because I'm digging out a lot of facts in the back of my mind here. So, but from what I understand, she was cleared of that bank robbery. I want to look that up just to double check, because I like to be very factual when I'm talking. Man. It's late. 11, 12, 1, 2. It's 2 o'clock on the East Coast, man. I know y'all hanging in, man. But yeah, that whole thing with these cats, man, when they start talking about, well, Eric Garner died because he was fat. Now that's that real white supremacy talk. It's that, well, don't believe your eyes. And then they want to change the definition of stuff. Come on. Homicide isn't a medical term. Okay, stop. Because the coroner ruled the shit was a homicide. Well, homicide doesn't mean crime. And then all of a sudden you want to change the definition. You want to change the law. All right. Man. All right, y'all, let me get up out of here, man. I got to go upstairs and attend to my children. But we got it in tonight, man. Very good night tonight, man. We chopped up game. Go to TariqElite.com. Get some of that gear. Go to Hidden Colors Film. Get Hidden Colors 1, 2, and 3. HiddenColorsFilm.com. Get Hidden Colors 1, 2, and 3. Go to MacLessons.com to get some of those pay-per-view specials and all that good stuff. And I'm going to holler at you, family. Peace and love. All right. And the new